Welcome back, Trekkie friends, to another Hailing Frequencies podcast, looking at the good, the bad, and the batshit. For at the moment, we're looking at season 4 of Lower Decks, and tonight's episode 8, Caves. I am one of your hosts, Stu.
And I'm your other host, Alastair. Stu, how's it going this week?
Do you know, that's an interesting question. It's been a reasonably good week this week.
Excellent.
But I did have a disappointment yesterday. I'm going to share this. I don't normally share these things, but no, I did have a disappointment yesterday. So I did a job back about a year ago on a show. Had a nice little, but I mean, it wasn't a huge part, but you know, few lines here and there, a couple of scenes with Rupert Graves and Paul Bradley, a couple of others. And that finally, the series dropped yesterday. I go to look for my sit and they've cut it.
Oh no, Stu.
Not just that, but some of like a couple of my lines were like announced because I played the pub landlord, and I announced things to the entire pub. They've actually overdubbed it with somebody else saying the lines. Yeah, waiting a year for that. But yeah, the burning.
Sorry to hear that, Stu.
There you go. Thanks, Buccaneer Media. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons why they do that sort of thing, and usually it's to do with time, pacing, not wanting to detract from what else is going on, or the right sort of vibe of the moment. There's all kinds of reasons why they do that sort of thing in editing. But yeah, that was a bit of a been waiting a year for that.
Hopefully we can raise your spirits with some lively discussion of this cave-based Lower Decks episode.
Nice segue. I approve of that. But first, how are you?
Good, thanks, Stu. Yeah. Just working away. Not a lot to report this week. So ready for some Star Trek chat.
Okie dokie. Well, first of all, before we go any further, a quick apologies if anybody was expecting this episode yesterday. We have put our recordings back to Friday evenings because we're starting a new review show, are we not?
We are indeed. One is not enough.
Yes, Frasier, which drops here in the UK on a Friday, so we're doing our recordings on a Friday now. So I just wanted to explain that. I have had a couple of people message me saying, no episode this week.
Good things come to those who wait, as the ancient Vulcan proverb goes.
Absolutely. I like that. And of course, the other thing we need to do before we go any further into the episode is we need to go to Red Alert, because we will be dropping those spoilers for the episode Cave. So if you haven't watched it yet, go back, watch it, come back, carry on watching this episode as we give our good, bad, and batshit. So was Caves what you expected?
Do you know what? I think it's fair to say that it pretty much was, Stu. I think you know, we were expecting a lot of cave-based gags rolled out. It's Lower Decks, so we know there's going to be some great interaction between our heroes in it. We certainly got that. And I enjoyed this one. I don't think it was my favorite of the season, but I thought it was a good, solid installment. What about yourself?
Yeah, same as I think, you know, cave episodes are obviously a trope within Star Trek, and I think even Mariner says something like a third of our missions are in caves. Yes, because it's cheaper to build the sets. Yeah, so it was a definitely a fun episode. Yeah, again, not one of my favorite. I'd kind of at the moment I'd put it about with last week's episode, which is like, yeah, not a good, fine, solid episode, but not a not one of the standouts of the season.
Moopsy looms large over the rest of this season.
Oh, I discovered today that QMX are going to be releasing a Moopsy. So yes,
Yes,
very,
finally.
very excited for that. Finally, we've been waiting days. Damn it.
Paramount, it should have been in the store on the day the episode aired. Come on.
I don't know if they're going to be fluffy, cuddly plush Moopsies or if they're going to be sort of statuettes.
Okay.
More Moopsies in our lives.
I feel like there's got to be a cosplay for someone in there somewhere.
Definitely. Well, let's dive into our good, bad, and batshit for Caves then. So, what was good? What stood out to you as the highlight of this episode?
There were lots of little bits and pieces that all came together. I think you almost said it earlier, which is that caves are ripe for a lampooning in Lower Decks. By this point, there have been so many Star Trek episodes set in caves. It's almost a surprise that Lower Decks hasn't done these gags before in its run somewhere. So it was just good fun seeing this theme kind of tackled on the show. And yeah, lots of little bits and pieces that I really enjoyed about this. I was very happy to see Delta Shift back again. It's been a little while since we saw them last, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, nice to see them back in action. Enjoyed their story with Mariner. I quite enjoyed that whole mode that the episode assumed of switching from one character to another, telling their story, and it just gave it a nice sort of a nice little sort of segmented feel and a good pace to it. So I also, this is an odd one because it's going to appear on both my good and bad list. I had some laugh out loud moments at Levy and his conspiracy theories. And Boimler's chat with him as well. So, yeah, and I think I was really struggling. There were a lot of potential quotes of the week for me. So I'm going to leave that just now and throw it over to you for your good bits, Stu. But
yeah, let's leave the quote of the week till the end. I think let's do.
Okay,
that.
so what were you giving the thumbs up to in this one?
So like yourself, I love the format of this. Normally, when we get like a flashback episode of any series at all, it's when you're as obsessive compulsive as I am, and you like know every episode line for line already. You don't need flashback episodes. So it was nice to get a flashback episode that wasn't. I mean, it was a flashback episode that wasn't a flashback episode, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like TNG, Shades of Grey has got to be one of the worst. Code of Honor probably stands, as worse than that, but and of course, Shades of Grey is what you got because of the previous writers' strike, which glad to see is now settled. We just need the actors sorted out now. SAG-AFTRA strong. And all that, but yeah, so yeah, I agree with you on that. I think that was a really nice move. But for me, the absolute standout is probably my favorite character in Lower Decks, for all the wrong reasons. I have a total crush on Dr. Ta'ana.
Oh,
so getting a strong Ta'ana story. Yeah. I'm right there for that.
In mother mode, yeah.
Yes, I mean, not so much that side. Let's not confuse matters. Don't know. There's just something about the way Gillian Vigman voices the Doctor, and that real blunt directness and casual violence that you get. It's just something about
absolutely, yeah.
Of course,
yeah.
Gillian Vigman is a complete and utter hottie. I don't want to go too far down that route, but yeah. Anyway, so Dr. Ta'ana.
I don't know her outside of her cat form, so I'll have to go away and do my homework, Stu. There we go. Something for me to do for next week.
Yeah. I'm certain she's a lovely person, which is the most important thing. So before I go on and embarrass myself, too late. Yeah, I think any episode where we get a substantial amount of the Doctor, I
And
am.
it was a really fun one for the Doctor as well. So yeah, absolutely. You know, it was because it's not often that we see the Doctor getting a storyline with one of our heroes. We had one with Tendi with the retrieving the box right in a previous season, but
Yeah.
quite often the Doctor's paired up with obviously with Shax a lot recently, and tends to be more bridge crew than lower decks with her stories. I feel so. It was nice to see her and Rutherford get some quality time in this one.
Yeah, and we find out a bit more about her character. Like, she hates engineers.
Yeah.
Is interesting. I mean, why someone would hate engineers, I don't know. But yeah, that was my standout good moment. What about that? And quick reminder for our listeners: when we say bad, we don't mean it was bad. We mean this was room for improvement. But what was your low spot? What was your bad call on this episode?
Yeah, and as ever, like I feel with Lower Decks, as we put the caveat as you just have every week, that particularly with this season, we're kind of splitting hairs often, or talking about things that could be better rather than outright bad. I wasn't a big fan of Levy's conspiracy theory being correct. I just don't know that we need someone being portrayed as like completely off the wall, audacious conspiracy theorists, and then immediately having them be right about what they're saying in today's day and age. So yeah, that left me a bit lukewarm because I thought it was very funny, the setup to it, but yeah, didn't work for me. So. And the other thing, and I'm just going to be quick about this because this is every week for me at the moment. Still no to Lynn.
I'm
Come on.
unsurprised that that's your.
Made the list again. But anyway, Stu, what are your negatives for this week?
I just have the one comment that I wrote, and I'll quote it direct: "Where the f is to Lynn?" Like,
I'm,
one or two episodes, yeah, okay, she's not really a main character, but like, yeah, this is getting silly now. Either they're building to something big that will explain why we haven't seen it, or I don't know what's happened.
I think you're probably right. I think you made a guess, was it last week, that the finale will use her quite a bit. Whether that will explain where she's, preferably, it will explain where she's been these 3 missing weeks. And I think that would help me get over my grumbles about Tillin being absent. But I suspect you might be right that the storyline will just feature her. And the thought in the writers' room was, she's going to be a big part of the finale. We'll give her this big mid-season episode where we get more Tillin than we have done before, and then it'll be fine to have a few episodes, without her there. And boy, were you wrong. We're all missing. We're all missing Tillin. So hopefully we get an explanation next week. But I'm not holding my breath. I think she will just reappear and have a lot more to do than her absence.
I hope so. There is a darker version of this theory.
No,
do, you want
Stu.
to, do you want to brace yourself for this one?
Am I going to get upset?
Maybe. So it is a thing with when they write episodes, they don't always know which order the episodes are going to release in, and particularly episodic programs, you can chop and change the order in which they're shown. If something happens to Tillin, that might explain why there's a number of episodes without her in.
Yeah.
Now,
Although,
I doubt that's the
yeah,
case, but
it's hard to imagine them having that be anything less than kind of a season ending event as well for it to wind up being displaced. But yeah, I mean, I guess there are a lot of possible permutations, right? Of okay, yeah, obviously if she had died, if there was a plot thread where she was removed from the show for some reason, then that would be the most extreme form of it. But maybe there were ideas that swirled around the writers' room of her, returning to the Vulcan ship for a bit of time or going off on some side adventure. They never came to pass, but they still had these, these episodes where she was absent. So I can see maybe a sort of not so severe version of that,
That's good.
possibly being true. But that might just be me really hoping that they're not going to kill her.
Well, to be fair, I think that's an incredibly unlikely situation. It's something that used to happen a lot when shows like, and I'm thinking like Next Generation days, they would write this script. They definitely wouldn't have a clue what episodes what sequence those episodes would be shown in, particularly when it goes out to syndication. So it's kind of out of their control. Now that we're into a situation whereby we're much more, although this is the thing, Lower Decks is much more episodic than it is serialized. But now that viewer expectations are more for the serialization, and we've got streaming, which is a huge, big, massive change. I mean, in that regard, Deep Space Nine was way ahead of its time, because that was the perfect sort of vehicle for streaming before streaming was ever thought of. And in fact, they wanted to make it serialized, and they got a huge amount of pushback for those very reasons that I've listed. So I am going back like 30 years. That used to happen. Yeah. I'm just throwing it out there as a theory anyway, but I think it's really unlikely. But let's move on to a positive of the batshit then.
So I just have Rutherford pregnancy down for this. I mean, it's Lower Decks. I shouldn't be surprised by anything. But if you'd given me a little bingo card with Rutherford pregnancy on it, probably wouldn't have been high on my list of what I was going to be crossing off this week in the Caves episode. So, it was suitably zany, and as with all of the best of Lower Decks. It managed to turn that zaniness into something that was actually had a bit of poignancy and interest about it, and helped develop the characters a bit. So thumbs up to the batshit of the week for me for this one. What about you, Stu?
No, I think that's a really good call. And of course, it's not the first time we've had a male engineer get pregnant in Star Trek.
Yes. Shout out to Tucker. Yeah.
Throw that one out there. So my batshit actually, it's your bad. So the fact that Levy was right about the Vendorian. Now, I'm absolutely on board with you that these conspiracy theories that come out with like some really ridiculous stuff. I'm thinking flat earthers is a perfect example. To give that credence is not a positive.
Yeah, it's just it started like I just feel like it didn't feel like it really did anything in the episode either. In fact, I think Boimler even almost makes a joke about that, where he's like, I think I learned something here, but he doesn't say, but I don't know what. He takes like some random, like he says something funny or ridiculous or something.
Maybe.
Yeah. But I mean, it's almost kind of acknowledged by the show that kind of just sort of like the emptiness of that turn of events, and that's seldom a good sign for a choice to tell a story a certain way. So I'm with you on the batshitness of that.
Okay, I mean, I took away from the fact that Levy himself was surprised to be proven right. And there was even one where he says, when they said, like, how do you know so much about this is the Vendorians, like, how do you know so much about us? And he said, well, there's a group of us that get together and make stuff. I mean, research.
Yes. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it kind of it forgave itself a little bit.
A bit of contextual exoneration there. Yes, yeah, I love
That's
it.
it. Well, let's move on to our favourite lines of the episodes. Go on, what's yours then?
I was really torn between two different lines, and one of them is a great bit of toilet humor, which I know you're a big fan of, Stu.
Okay.
The moment where Shax bursts into the turbo lift and Mariner says something to the effects, reminiscing about it of, and when Shax burst in, I almost peed myself, and Boimler says, yeah, I fully peed myself, and it just really tickled me.
Oh yeah, that I can get on board with.
But my actual quote for the week, because that one fell just short, is when Mariner says it's something like this. It's the effect of some rocks beat hundreds of years of technology every time. It was sort of the episode and its premise in a nutshell, and yeah, just had me laughing.
But my line, I've written it down verbatim. Bunch of rocks always beat centuries of technological progress.
Hey, same favorite line.
So we are on the same page. So overall, thumbs up for this episode.
Yeah, definitely thumbs up for this episode. Yeah, actually talking about Mariner, like I think both of us have danced around the edges of saying it, but her general outrage at being stuck in the caves near the start was actually also extremely amusing for this one, and just a really nice start to the episode. So many gags gotten out of the fact that she was pissed off to be there and was second guessing everything that was going to happen in the caves. So shout out to that little start bit at the beginning of the episode as well.
Yes, yes. And do you know what? It's just occurred to me as we're talking here. There's a lot of love for Enterprise in this episode, because you got the whole thing about the male engineer getting pregnant, that reference, but
Yeah.
also towards the end, the moss that eats people. Do you remember there was that episode? I think it was Vox, where you had the white stuff that trapped the crew and bonded with them.
Yes. Yeah.
So the end, yeah, the end of that. This episode sort of put me in mind. That was Technicave as well. That episode. So yeah, it just put me in mind a little bit of that. Yeah, so I'm
Yeah,
thinking,
no, we love to see it. Enterprise getting a little bit more love these days. So
yes,
long may it continue.
somebody's been watching the old episodes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, that wraps up this episode. We've got episode 9 coming next week, which we do not yet have the title for. I did a search moments before we started recording. Nothing as yet. So I think as soon as we get the title, that's going to be some giveaway to something. That's my prediction.
I can't see any other reason for it. So yeah, I'm with you on that, Stu, 100%.
But make sure you join us next week to find out. And so hit that like and subscribe and the notification icon as well, so that you're there with us. And if you're a Frasier fan as well, then we've got an absolute treat for you coming up. We're going to be having a review of not one, not two, but 3 episodes of the new series as it has just dropped. So, yeah, you don't want to miss that one. Anyway, in the meantime, peace and long life.
Live long and prosper.